Why is it okay for the Prime Minister to have his pay set by an authority that compares his job to different jobs in different industries with different employers when he's removed that ability under urgency for low-paid women workers?
Well, we haven't. This is government that continues to support pay equity and eliminating sex-based discrimination. All that we have done is fix the labour law that was unworkable and also unaffordable, and that compared librarians to fisheries officers.
Is the Prime Minister saying that he did not remove under urgency the ability for those low-paid women workers to compare their jobs to different jobs in different industries with different employers?
Well, what we did was we passed a law to make sure that it was much more workable, robust and sustainable. That's what we did last week. We did it under urgency so that we actually have one system, not two systems, and it gives certainty and fairness to everybody.
If we are to believe the Prime Minister when he says that these pay equity changes were not about saving money, why did the government rush them through on the same day that they were announced, preventing public and expert input and usual good lawmaking practice?
Well, look, I mean, there's a couple of choices there. One is you can do it quickly or you can do it slowly. We felt a lengthy process for people that have had their claims in the system for a long period of time was going to put them into limbo. Importantly, they can now actually resubmit under the new law and advance their claims.
Did the government request any analysis on whether cutting off hundreds of thousands of our lowest paid working women from pay equity claims would contribute to the record number of New Zealanders who are leaving this country under his administration?
Well, I wouldn't conflate those two issues, and I reject the characterisation of that question.
Would the Prime Minister take up the offer of any of the many hard-working women that he has cut off from pay equity claims to spend a day in their shoes, changing nappies, delivering babies, or educating young children? Or does he plan to ignore them as he's ignored good lawmaking practice?
I'll just say to that member, we are not cutting off pay equity claims. We are committed to pay equity.
Did Workplace Relations Minister Brooke Van Velden suggest changes to the laws around pay equity right at the start of the government's term? If so, why have they never been mentioned in any of his quarterly plans, in any government minister's speeches, or in any public announcements until the law change was introduced last week?
I'm well aware the Minister has been focused on pay equity from day one, and what I would say is that we made a decision. We had a choice. Do you do it fast or do you do it slow? We watched Labor do it over 3 years, introduce the bill under urgency with massive amounts of flaws, and we decided to give people certainty.
Supplementary question. Why didn't the quarterly plan he released on the 7th of April say anything about the fact that the government had decided just 1 week earlier to scrap existing pay equity process and extinguish all active claims?
Well, we didn't want to create a situation where there was uncertainty, and that's why we moved under urgency.
Supplementary question. How would it have created uncertainty to tell people that you're going to change the law before you change the law?
Well, that's the point. We didn't want to signal that we were going to do that because we don't want to create uncertainty in the system.
Supplementary question. Why did Nicola Willis state on behalf of the government in May last year, quote, "The government remains committed to pay equity and to meeting its obligations under the Equal Pay Act 1972, end quote, given the government had already at that point agreed to explore changes to the law to reduce those obligations?
Well, the statement's true, and that's correct. This is a government committed to pay equity. It's a government that's committed to equal pay, is committed to collective bargaining. I've seen a lot of disinformation, misinformation and scaremongering out there, but we're committed to pay equity. We're committed to equal pay.
Supplementary question. Why were National MPs briefed on the changes to the Equal Pay Act on Sunday the 4th of May, yet the following day at his post-cabinet press conference he didn't tell the New Zealand public, leaving them to find out the very same day the government intended to push the law change through all stages under urgency in Parliament?
Well, I'll just say to the member, there are two choices we had to make. One was that we could move with speed to give people certainty and clarity about the system. The alternative was to take a long time and put people into limbo. We wanted to move with speed.
Supplementary question, Mr Speaker. Why did the government agree to backdate pay equity settlements as part of a range of collective employment agreement negotiations over the past year, despite having already agreed to repeal the law and extinguished those very same pay equity claims they had agreed to backdate? And is that what his government regards as good faith?
Well, we have said to you from the beginning, day one, we have been concerned about the pay equity legislation being unworkable. The Minister has had that on her work plan from beginning. We are making sure we are fixing Labor's law, which was unworkable, increasingly unaffordable, and when it starts to compare librarians with fisheries officers, admin workers with civil engineers, there's a problem.
Point of order, Mr Speaker.
Point of order.
My question was why the government had agreed in the settlements that it reached through collective agreement negotiations to backdate pay, even though it had already decided that it was going to extinguish the pay equity claims that that promise of backdating were based on. He didn't address that issue at all.
Prime Minister might care to elucidate slightly.
Yeah, look, just not aware of the detail of that in order to answer that question. But what I would say to that member is that we are determined to make sure that we have workable pay equity legislation in this country.